everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Our request of Schwarzchild Radius, we're covering one of the classic Hannah Barbera cartoons' first feature film, Jetsons the Movie.
This fun film shows a favorite family from the future moving from their home to literally out of this world when George Jetson's promoted and moved to a new Sprocket factory. Mm-hmm. What in the heck is a Sprocket?
It just looks like...
Sprocket.
When you look at it, it looks like just like a little wheel that you see in the factories. Like they can be gigantic and they're the turning wheels that operate the entire factory, and they just made miniature-sized versions of them. It's like, why don't you just call them by their real names, not Sprocket?
I was just being facetious. So, this was a fun watch for us because Rascal has never seen the Jetsons. When I was growing up, child, they showed reruns of the Jetsons and the Flintstones on TV really until probably the late 90s. And then they created Boomerang. Cartoon Network created Boomerang. And then they put on cartoons up to from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Now Boomerang, you have to pay for it online or on a service provider. And it features cartoons from the 60s through the 90s. So there's not a way to see the Jetsons series without purchasing the series.
Yeah, they really want you to buy it or stream it on your device. Like, then it's not even like a channel or a block now. It's like a streaming service like Netflix at this point.
But I do remember watching the reruns, and I thought it was fun. Of course, you have to love Astro, and you love the close-knitness of the family, and the crazy capers they would get into.
And the maid, yeah.
Right. And how Spacely Sprocket was like an animated Larry Tate from Bewitched. Yes, we've watched Bewitched because of our Nana. So, let's talk about Jetsons the Movie.
Okay. Now, it did feel a little different from the usual Jetsons formula, because remember, we would see like a few episodes, like they would have them on a disc, kind of like at random. I've only seen like the episode where they first got the robot made and she had sass.
Rosie.
And stuff. Yeah, that's the only episode I've seen in full.
Okay.
I've never seen like the whole series or whole season or anything. And from what it sounds like you said, it was a different adventure every time, something weird in the future, because the future is now,
right?
And how everything works and technology and the jobs. And here they kind of had a different tone, because maybe the time of the movie came out in 1990.
Right, and I think that was just way too late to have made this type of movie. It should have been made sooner, when there was a great demand for it by the people who watched it.
Right. And
it was weird that it was a theatrical movie.
Yeah, because when we saw it, it felt more like a TV movie or a direct-to-video movie. Because the type of plot it had wasn't really something that you would expect to see in theaters. Like the Powerpuff Girls movie. You like the idea, but that wasn't grand enough to put in the theaters.
Right.
And we kind of thought, like, if they were going to do that, like, do where they have to save the future or something. That would be the type of... That would have been the type of movie to put in the theaters. And then, like, okay, it did much better. Because I was surprised to see when the movie was available through Blockbuster, it got a lot of 1-star ratings and saying like one of the worst things from Jetsons.
And Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 27%.
Yeah, so we were a little confused on that. I mean, we could tell that it was a different style of humor because, like I said, the time it came out, it was more focused on the music. I guess it was a lot of music going on at the time, so they had singers everywhere, all in the Jetsons, and they look like a music video through most points, so that's kind of understandable, but I don't think it's deserving of like a 1-star.
No, definitely not. Now, what I liked about watching this is, again, I've seen many of the episodes from the series in reruns, and a lot of elements from the TV show were there. One is the music. See, Judy was always dating some hot new singer with a weird name from the future. So that was really one of the normal elements. What was his name? Cosmic
Cosmo.
Yeah, Cosmic Cosmo dumped her for one of her friends, and that was one of Rascal's favorite scenes when she came in the set. And she said,
I just got a call from Tiffany, who told Sarah, who told Abigail, who told Barry, who told me that
Eden stole his life. Dave.
Like, man, how long did it get to you?
So that was one of the things that was really funny and normal. And then, of course, you have the jokes with the food, and I loved how they had this cube in the beginning.
Like a piece
and
of butter.
Said he didn't want eggs, and she just cut the end of it off, and then he tells her, "You burnt the toast."
It's like, okay, I don't give you that at all.
And of course, Elroy, of course, voiced by someone else, but he really had that same spirit and that same joyfulness that came through from the original voice actor. At Rastro, of course.
Right.
And then one of the other things I really liked is how they put a story of doing something to help and save someone, not the world or not the universe, but still they did help and save someone. And George, for once, stood up for himself because he's always in the
he's like a yes
shows.
Yeah.
He's like he placates whatever Spacely tells him. Okay, and he does it. He's been fired a million times, hired back a million times, but this time he stood up for himself. He said no, and that was really good to see in this.
It was like, finally, it took you this long to do it. And what else happened? Well, lots of stuff actually, but they also had some new characters join in. Like they had this little robot family. Like, wait, so they can be a family and they can be maids and they can be the secretary.
They left Earth and they went to live somewhere else.
Oh yes,
that this cavalcade of different beings.
Right. I guess for Earth it was set up differently. So whatever other planets in the galaxy had different customs. And then you had this group that was like big furry aliens, reminding me of the Charmin Bear commercial. They were like giant,
they were blue
furry creatures. Right. And then you had these little tiny creatures that were hiding in the factory. Ewoks. Yeah, I was like, are these Ewoks in space? I'm like, where did you get Star Wars from?
Now, one of the sad things about this movie is that we learned that 3 of the voice actors actually died during production. One being Mel Blanc, another being George something. The one who voiced George Jetson.
Right.
O'Hanlon.
Yeah.
George O'Hanlon. And then the third one was the one
who's it? The dog, right?
Yes.
Because it was Don Messick then, because who was Scooby Doo.
Right.
But it was someone else before it. So.
Right. And that put a little damper on it for us because, you've got this. It took them this long to make a movie. And during that time, you had 3 people that were heavily influential, especially Mel Blanc, that passed during the production. And it was, to me, it reminded me of them finally making the Batman animated movies and waiting so friggin' long that Adam West barely got to make the second one and he died. And it's like, why do you wait so long to make these movies that fans want to see with these beloved voice actors and just people you really love? This should be like a message for you to get going and get stuff done and not delay. So.
And that also with Incredibles 2, while the principal cast was still there, 1 or 2 people who did voices passed on, they had to get replacements, quickly. So yeah, with things that we have right now that have, ended or officially ended or thinking about continuing, just go ahead and do it. If there's something you can come up that's great, just go ahead and do it, because you want to fall into the same category as some of these other great movies, and it's a great legacy, but then the way when you want to continue it, it's pretty much too late.
Right. Now, I think the Jetsons originally aired, originally aired in the 60s. The Flintstones aired in 1960.
Yeah, to 66.
Right, and the Jetsons came out not too long after it, because it was like they were one end of the spectrum, they were the other. So you think about when the Jetsons originally came out, and it took them to 90s to make the movies.
Right.
So hopefully, there were still a lot of people that were interested in seeing it. It made, I think, $20.3 million, which during that time wasn't bad, because 1990, but still.
Right.
Putting it, now if you did something like that, putting it straight to video would be straight to DVD, would be the best thing to do in terms of having that type of movie. Right,
because like I said, this was something that would have been something for straight to DVD, because we've seen lots of direct-to-video sequels for like Disney or stuff Nickelodeon's done. It's like, oh, it's a TV movie or it's a DVD movie, and then you just get it and that's it. There wasn't really anything to put in the theaters. Either it wasn't long enough, wasn't grand enough, or it wouldn't, it couldn't stand its ground in the theaters. Like I said, with Powerpuff Girls, still a fan base, a great plot, great origin, but it wasn't long enough or strong enough at the time to do that. Now you probably could just make it a little longer so it meets that requirement.
And make it based on the original series.
Right. But, yeah, same thing with Jetsons.
So, I would say for this movie, we would definitely give it a strong 3.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not 27%. It was fun to watch. It was entertaining. And again, for me, it reminded me of watching it as a kid when it aired in reruns. Now, we also know there was a crossover movie between the Flintstones and the Jetsons.
Yeah.
So once we find that, we're going to watch it and we'll be happy to review that
right,
as well.
Right, because that sounds really fun already.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jetsons and the Flintstones, it was like, oh gosh, like think about what you could do with that.
And a great idea. And the Flintstones was always fun to watch because they had all these modern day appliances and things that were made on Stone Age animals and things, and that was hilarious. Kind of like Looney Tunes, when you would watch Looney Tunes, and it would have all these nods to the future, like these a whole animated section on TVs of the future, another one on cars in the future. And I used to love those. Now I know that now they are dated, but still, I think they were so hilarious to watch when they were airing them. So.
And the weird part is that some of the stuff they have in the Jetsons, they do have now. I mean, they don't have flying cars yet. We did have hoverboards, but then we had to take them back, and we kind of have like robotic servants, and we just don't have cute food yet. But there are some that we just push a button, and everything else is done for you. Or now voice commands.
Now Alexa,
So someone was ahead.
But so far, nobody in any animated or live action series has gotten it right in terms of how close it would be to the future in the 21st century. But keep trying and let's see what you do for the 22nd century.
Okay.
So if you've seen this movie, let us know what you think of it in the comments below. What were your favorite parts? Are you looking forward to possibly seeing this series rebooted, since so many animated series and network shows and movies are being either remade or rebooted?
Mm-hmm. Plus, the Hannah Barbera universe is coming to theaters. I forgot to tell you about that. They're doing a Hannah Barbera cinematic universe, I think because of the success of the Marvel universe. So now they want to turn all these old cartoons into theatrical films, starting with Scooby-Doo. So let's see how all of these shows hold up in the Hannah Barbera, because there's a lot to do. So let me know when you get like the Tom and Jerry and Johnny Quest, Huckleberry, Yogi Bear. Yeah, let's see how you handle all these other ones, because it's been a long time since we've seen any of these franchises get movies besides Flintstones and Jetsons for the wrestling crossover.
True. Last thing I want to mention is a lot of these cartoons aired for decades, like the Flintstones and the Jetsons, and as you know, Scooby-Doo is the only one that's had a really great longevity. But they aired the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. The Flintstones would have actually been the longest running animated series in history if they hadn't taken it off and put it on Boomerang, and The Simpsons took the title. Right. So these actual cartoons have been a part of quite a few people's childhoods because of the long-running syndication. Right. So again, that means that many of you have seen some of these episodes or shows. Okay.
Right. So, thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it.
And thank you, Schwarzchild, for giving us the idea to do this podcast. Let us know what you think.
Yes. So, I'm Rascal Entertainments.
And I'm Mom Entertainments.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you want to do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Hit her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams, plucking sunlight from the sky.